Hello witches, and welcome back to Activist Witch, where we discuss witchcraft and activism. You can call me Isha, my pronouns are she, they, and in today's video we're going to discuss Ari the Oak Witch first book, Spellcraft and Spell Work, edited by Pagan Portals. It was out at the end of July, and the reasons I think that this is the best beginner's book ever. But before we get started, let me remind you that I've opened a Ko-fi, which is an alternative to Patreon that takes less from creators. And on there, you can do a monthly donation, a one-off donation, or even buy a tarot reading with me, Italian style. The low-income option starts at £5. And for the foreseeable future, any income that I get from tarot readings goes directly to Kuches to Gaza, who are part of the mutual aid groups who support Palestinian people relocate to Egypt. And if you decide to support me there, thank you so very much. So I have a couple of disclaimers for this review. A, I've never done a book review before, we're gonna get into why. And B, I've been sent a digital copy of Ari's book a few months ago. I am dyslexic, I'm a very slow reader, so I've come around it literally a couple of weeks ago. Oh my goodness, I wish I had done it earlier. Again, unfortunately, I take my time reading books. But the unique selling point of this book, to me, is that it covers all the bases of witchcraft and magic. If you've never heard about it, but you're interested, and so you're a beginner witch, but even if you have, I have been practicing for a couple of years, and then there's all my childhood in folk tradition, and yet I discovered new things through this book. So that is one of the things that is out. That's the reason why I wanted to talk about it, because personally, when I first started a couple of years ago, and like everyone, the first thing you hear is, as a witch, you read, we research. And I did that, and I got around more than a few books for beginners. And at the end of the day, most were disappointing, if not outright problematic and dangerous. Yeah, if you see The Modern Guide to Witchcraft by Skye Alexander, don't get this. The PDF that I got is around 115, 120 pages, which makes you think it's a very small and thin book. But it focuses on all the principles that you need, all the cornerstones that you need to understand what is the concept of witchcraft and magic, and how can you get started doing meditations, spells, all those kind of practices that as witches we do. It covers everything, it covers it clearly, it covers it to the point, and bibliography. Something you might have heard from witches much more popular than I am is one thing that helps to discern how valuable the information in a book is the bibliography. So what other books has the person that is reading this book read and analyzed and put together? And it is wonderful to see how vast the knowledge of Ari is. I mean, in every video that she does, you see the incredible library that she has behind her. But this goes to show that she has read every single one of those books in the background, cover to cover. In fact, actually, one of the things that I discovered through her book, the true origin of, that I didn't know as much as I knew the practice, is about square breath. I've mentioned it before. Maud Oren mentions it in his book Psychic Witch as elemental breath. Square breath is mentioned as such in Ivo Domingos Jr. Keys to Perceptions. But in fairness, it's mentioned in so many magical and esoteric books. And it's this kind of breathing technique that should get you all aligned. And it's inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and then keep empty for 4. What I didn't know is that actually this is a yoga pranayama breathing technique. And considering how eclectic witchcraft is very, very good as picking and choosing what to get from other traditions, and a lot has been taken from Eastern traditions, including yoga, it shouldn't surprise me. But what surprised me is that nobody else gave me that information other than this is the technique. Ari not only gave me the technique, but also told me, hey, if you're wondering where this comes from, here's the receipt. And when you have receipts, it's so much easier to understand how valuable and how reliable the information that you're getting is. And everything that Ari said comes with receipts that you can verify and that have gone down to the source. And that's rare and incredibly valuable, and it shows that she's a scholar along with being a witch. There's actually 2 books in her bibliography that I didn't know about, but that through the citations that she brings from it, I had to run and get, because that's the thing. You come to me and you know that I will tell you about intersectionality, about diversity, about inclusion, because it's in my name. I'm the Activist Twitch. It's what I do. And maybe you wouldn't necessarily take it for granted for a lot of other content creators there. I can tell you from the bibliography alone that Ari, at the very least, is an amazing ally, because the things she mentions and how she does that cover things that are relevant for people to understand, whether you're cis or trans. If you're not non-binary, like me, but it's important for you to understand the take on life of a non-binary witch, Ari has receipts for you in that as well. And I feel that the wider a net is cast, again, the more reliable the comparisons and the knowledge that someone brings to you is, because they applied clearly the critical thinking. They had different sources and they can put them in context to bring them to you. One, you've heard me mention it on Instagram surely already, it's Bring Your Race to the Table, Exploring Racism in Pagan Communities. And this is more gold than I actually paid for it. It doesn't have a Kindle version, hence my physical version, and I am not great at having physical books. This is absolutely worth it. This is basically, if you were interested in the video that I will make about cultural appropriation, or is it a cultural appreciation, cultural exchange, I've learned is the best term for it, and how to get to it. And it's a wonderful book of perspectives of people of color within pagan communities. There's a second section that it's about scholarly studies about what do we know about antiquity, what do we know about current situation in pagan communities. And then the last part is on allyship written by white pagans. And I'm still working my way through it, but so far it's going to be the main source of information for what I will bring you in the cultural appropriation video. And I had no idea that this existed before Ari quoted it and put the citation in the bibliography. So Ari, thank you so much. And I know that, Ari being one of the few other witches of color that are based in the UK that actually knows this stuff, I'm not surprised that this information comes from her. And as always, thank you. Another book that I discovered through the bibliography of Ari is called The Modern Craft, Powerful Voices on Witchcraft Ethics, and I discovered it because Ari quotes an essay in it that is called Altars of Transition by Harry Josephine Giles, which, again, it's amazing to see other witches of color like Ari around. It's amazing to see other queer witches around. So when we talk about things like transitions and related to witchcraft, as you can tell, it's something that I am very, very interested into. I had no idea that this book existed before Ari, but this bibliography is golden. Oh, this is hard. I refuse for my brain not to work. All that I know how to do is videos. I will make videos. COVID will not take videos away from me. Another thing that works very well for me in this book is how the information is organized. It's very clear, it's in lists, it's well not only documented but put together, because personally my way to remember things is indeed with bullet points, it's with references between things, and Ari does just that. I mean, by all means, by the end you also have spells that you can try, but what you can build with the information that she gives you and the foundation that she gives you is that you don't have to go through trying other people's spells. You can start off crafting your own, because she has given you information from everything, foundation to the top, to create your own rituals, your own spells, your own relationship with the concept of magic and witchcraft. Why is putting out a sentence so hard? Another thing that is worth mentioning is the exercises. So we all know about grounding and centering. What beginner's book hasn't told us about grounding and centering, as much as it's very hard at times for people to define grounding and centering and what are they and are they different. Something that Ari does that it's mind-blowing to me is that she has these exercises, she presents them in ways that you haven't seen before. It's not redundant. If you have any other witchcraft book, the way that Ari puts things together is not redundant with anything else that you already have. If anything, she has reorganized so much information in a more accessible way, which I am partial to. is succinct, is efficient, which is not the usual with witchcraft books. I don't know, we like to be verbose maybe, or we like to, cover all the possible bases, and what if I need to use this term, what if I need to repeat this sentence in a different way so that maybe this way you understand it, which is an approach that I understand, but also it's less intimidating. The fact that this is a book with 115, 120 pages does not feel intimidating to me, who rarely gets to the end of a book. It's been 2 years and I haven't got to the end of Psychic Witch. Sorry, Matt. The waterfall grounding exercise and the simple sensory centering exercise bring the entire concepts of grounding and centering and turn them on its head. And she approaches it in such a practical way that actually comes from, I think, counseling and psychology, which makes it much more approachable and concrete, especially if you're not used to understand energy and ethereal stuff yet, which as a beginner witch, and I still count myself in that, it can be problematic. It can feel like people are talking about things that you don't perceive. Something that I always see around is the exercise about the ball of energy and passing the ball of energy. And it's been 2 years and I'm still not completely clear on that. But the waterfall grounding and the simple sensory centering, I get it. It's physical stuff that I can do. And through the physical, then you start getting into the perception of things. And the fact that she presents these in ways that I had never seen before allows me a new way to approach grounding and centering. And if the ways that I've tried so far don't necessarily connect with me, which these do. And it's incredible that she even came up with creating something new about concepts that are so basic for witches that people don't even think about trying to present them in different ways. But she did, and that was for the best. Ari, I love you. If this is not love, I don't know what is. I also will do now a disclaimer. I am doing this review because I genuinely love the book. I already made a post on Instagram. I'm sure that Ari didn't ask me or press me to do this. I was genuinely so impressed by how well it's put together that I wanted other beginner witches to find it and see that that's the best starting point that I have seen so far. And then through the bibliography, you get into more details on specific things if you want. But this is the best altogether information to get started. You read these and you start do your own thing. I do have a soft spot for Ari. She has kept me company since well before my channel started. And the simple fact that she thought about asking me to read her book was insanely gracious of her. And she didn't ask me or expect anything out of it. And to be fair, again, being dyslexic and having a hard time reading, I didn't expect to be able to finish or promise anything in exchange. And she didn't ask for that anyway. But because it's so, again, well organized and succinct and to the point and not redundant, stuff stuck with me, which from reading is really rare. And I could get through it in a matter of 3 weeks, which for me is good. So in conclusion, if you are dipping your toes, but even if you're not just dipping your toes, because I learned new things from this, but if you're dipping your toes into witchcraft and you would like a map of the situation, what is witchcraft? What is magic? How does it affect reality? How do I put together a ritual to make something that I want happen? Ari covers you, A to Z. And the bibliography will get you to any more in-depth point that you might want. And even points that you might want and you didn't know you wanted. See the examples of the books that I found out through Ari that are exactly up my alley, but I didn't know about. If you had a chance to already read her book, let me know what you thought. Let me know what the most interesting thing for you was, because I am still confused. Is it the bibliography? Is it the new approach to exercises? Is it the very well-organized information that covers everything? Let me know what your favorite part was if you already read it, and if not, I'll leave you the link down in the description below to get it. And until next time, I really hope that we can hex the patriarchy together, because boy oh boy if there's need for it.